Welcome
Welcome
to
to
Shade in
Shade
the
in the
City.
City.
I'm your girl, Treese.
It's Nels.
And today we are jumping into our review of Ready to Love, Season 7, Episode 9. And this one is Wife Me, Please. So if you have not already, please make sure that you have hit the like button.
And the subscribe button.
And y'all, let's get into it. And let's meet some best friends. And let's get shady.
Oh, we matched
Water, yeah.
somehow. We
It's gonna
matched somehow.
be a long day.
Yeah, I'm saving the alcohol for later.
Right. Tommy meets all the guys in the gentleman's lounge, of course, and tells them that he wants them to introduce their connections to their best friends, the person they share their secrets with. Now, Tommy says it might be helpful for some of those who are still dangling between two women and need to decide. He then looks at Mark Anthony, who admits he's having a tough time trying to choose between Jeffrey and Mercedes because I don't know, a lot of his explanations they explain and don't be explain it. But anyway, he said that he's been so into the process that he doesn't really, he hasn't really gotten to know each of them objectively. Okay. So yeah, he sends them on their way. And then we see Andre, who has invited his friend Jermaine out to meet Cynthia and Jeffrey. He said that he's seen him in past relationships. And, Cynthia arrives in her Cynthia manner, looking good and just, ready. So, she says Cynthia St. Paul is ready for Mr. Andre Addison. And my notes say, okay, government names.
Right?
I ain't mad at that. He introduces her to Jermaine, and she knows that, she's in the hot seat. And she basically just tells, pour me 2 shots and, a glass of wine just in case. You never know. So apparently 2 shots is her thing. I've noticed that she said that a few times.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, she said it last episode too with the baby dad. She was like, "Yeah, we need 2 shots." Like, yeah. Hey, if that's how you get the party started, I ain't mad at it, girl. Everybody got their thing. So Jermaine brings up that he's seen Andre in many relationships and that he's super big on family. And he says that when dating a woman with kids, Andre gets concerned about the kids' attachment to him. So Cynthia basically tells him she loves a man who loves children, and she already has 2. However, if he wanted his own, she would give him 2 and a dog. And that's all she can do. So he asks what they see themselves bringing to a common foundation with Andre. And Cynthia says that she feels like it's more important for men to be in touch with their emotions. And for her, she's bringing love, support, and protection. And, Jermaine is loving this answer. While Jeffrey says she's a woman of God first. So they connected not just on the physical level, but eternally. I said, I get it. That Jesus is heart puller. So, okay, I'm sorry. And then he asked about their other connections and how they compare to Andre. So Cynthia says one of her connections may be flashier than the other, but what is that? They may be flashier than the other, but they know what they want and they're providers and have what she needs to feel like she's gonna do this. And have what she needs so she don't feel like she got to keep doing this by herself. And so she says, she really can't compare them. While Jeffrey says that there's a huge difference for her and that she connected with them both organically. And that made her feel good inside.
So both of the ladies, they are heading out, and Jermaine says,
yeah, that's what happens. I'm sorry. I was trying to find a place.
Jermaine says he has enough to go on. Okay. Jermaine says Jeffrey sounds like she practices her faith and she actually goes to service. He's like, this is a church going woman, okay? And he says Cynthia answered the question about protection better than he expected. While Andre says it actually bothered him that she answered it so quickly and assertively because he feels like someone who does that kind of practice their answers.
It rehearsed it.
How she knew you was gonna ask that?
I guess because he don't have no answers outside
Right?
of
How you knew she was
Forbes.
gonna say that? What that means is she's a smart person. She's quick on her toes.
And
She
she can
thinks like,
articulate.
right? The hell, boy, stop! You sound crazy, Mr. Forbes.
Right.
Okay,
It's
but
not
his
giving
homeboy,
Forbes right now, sir.
right? But his homeboy is feeling Cynthia. He says Cynthia is the best for him.
I definitely think out of this whole episode, Cynthia was like the winner.
The favorite, like last episode, it was Anthony that was the favorite.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I mean,
And I know
Cynthia is my favorite.
I do like Cynthia. I do like Cynthia. And I understand that this episode is called Wife Me Please, but Latrice is going to call this Ball of Confusion. Because if I hear these men say, I'm so confused now, one more time, okay, I feel like everybody
they
so
can't give up the goods. They can't give up the goods.
I know, but I'm just still so confused. So
full of it. So Mark Anthony brought his friend Mark to narrow down his decision between Mercedes and Jeffrey. He says his insight is very important to him. So the ladies show up and Mark says he's excited to meet them because he keeps on hearing all about them.
What? Were you the only one confused when he called this? They definitely put on the screen Mark, and then he turned around and started calling him Braille. And I said, I know I'm not crazy. His name is Mark.
I think later on he said something about like his real name was something.
I mean, I know later on, but he had me feeling like I'm sitting up here getting my notes wrong.
So Mark asked them if there's a heated argument, how do they resolve their issues? Cynthia says communication is key in everything and it takes work, but you have to be willing to do it. Mercedes says she's the type, she ain't gonna go to sleep mad, but she need a minute. I'm right. She need a minute. She got to calm down so she don't say something she'll regret. Now, huh?
No, I said right on.
Mark asked them what are their red flags that MA needs to be worried about. And Jeffrey says she's an overthinker, and MA told her plenty of times to stop. I'm that way as well. And
she has to, and to your, I'm sorry. I think that is a great point because I think that proves, in my opinion, from watching and what they're showing us, I think it proves even more why they probably don't have as strong as connection.
Because the other two are kids.
What happened?
Because the other two are kids.
What do you mean the other two are kids?
Mercedes and MA.
Well, yes, but no, what I'm saying is she keeps saying, oh, and I'm like, the reason why she's overthinking it is because she's somebody's mama. She's just not trying to bring this
because she's all the way grown.
Right. Whereas he's like, why are you thinking so far ahead?
A kid.
I'm just saying, she the one out here screaming, I'm just letting you know, but go ahead.
She probably thinks he's fun. He would be great to play with the kids. They're around the frisbee and the football. Who the hell knows? So then Mercedes, she says that basically she has to come out of her homie moment and show her, her domestic side does exist.
She said homie mode, but
Oh, is that what I rewound it so many times. I don't know what the hell she said.
Yeah, I had to read the caption.
She's like, my homie. I was like, girl, what are you saying?
Yeah, she said her homie mode. I had to read the caption myself.
Okay. So then Mark asks, why do you have a second? Why isn't there just my homeboy that's number one?
Okay.
Mercedes says that is not a question for her. Okay, he had me at hello.
My notes say the same exact thing. That is so funny. Because that's not what Mercedes said if you watched it. But that's how much you think alike.
That's what she said. Jeffrey says for her, it's not a number one or number two thing. It's basically the fact that she's a single mom and he doesn't normally date single moms. And, she's trying to just be more careful and not just saying, number one or number two. She just wants to take her time. Now, she also says, she goes into it. I don't think this was an appropriate time to do it, but she goes into her last relationship and says that, the last guy broke her heart.
I thought the same thing. I was like, why did you want to bring that up now?
To the friend that you just met. And she says that's why she has many fears with MA, but because she doesn't, because he doesn't have children and neither did the last guy. So, you know, she don't want to be out here just making babies for anybody, anytime she's married.
Because like she said, she gifted the last one.
She gifted. Basically, she didn't want to have no kids, and that's what he wanted. And it took
But
off.
I do like that she said, you know, it takes time to build discernment and patience. And I said, okay, girl.
But she grown.
Because she grown. Right.
She knows this. So the ladies take off, and MA stays back with to speak with Mark. Mark asked him if he sees Jeffrey having children being a problem in the future. And MA says he's trying to see if, you know, she has if the qualities are in Jeffrey that are strong enough that he is willing to, you know, even take that leap down the line. Now, Mark says Mercedes has like a more relative demeanor that they're accustomed to, and she's more easy, like fluid to talk to and go back and forth. And basically, he gives it to Mercedes. He feels like Mercedes would be more of a match for him because they're both kids.
They're just not at the place in their life where Jeffrey is, and that's why they make more sense.
Yeah,
whether it be kid-like or not, that's why they make more sense.
Because it is kid-like.
They don't have the same responsibilities. Let's just say that. Let's not make them kids.
I mean, my 18-year-old doesn't have responsibilities either.
You're terrible. Now, Lyndon introduces his friend Troy to Morgan. He wants to feel out her vibes. And, you know, Troy asks if he has any concerns about Morgan, and he shares a story about the nair in the hair. So that's probably not a good precedence before meeting her. Then Troy asked about...
do you think you would have shared that?
No, I don't think I would have shared that with you. I think I would have waited for you to give me your opinion. And then after, if you would have been like, oh, he's so sweet, I really liked him, he's great for you, then I'd be like, okay, but there's this one thing. But you know what I'm saying? But after you done said how much you liked him, but I wouldn't set him up coming into the situation for you to rip him a new asshole.
Even before he got to meet her. He didn't even get to see how cute she is or nothing. Like,
it didn't make sense to me. But you know, Troy asked Morgan about her other connections and why they still exist when she has Lyndon. So Morgan responds that she's having issues with Lyndon's 5-year plan. She says his 5-year plan is her 2-year plan. And that's a problem for Lyndon. You know, she's like, he didn't come on here to be married in 2 years. And that's basically what she wants to do. She wants to be married in 2 years. Yeah, he asked about her relationship, which was like 5 years ago with the nair in the hair gentleman. And you know, she tells Troy she knew she was done, and so she wanted to make a grand exit.
This was so premeditated.
And says that it was planned, and she looked it up to make sure that she couldn't go to jail.
I think that's really what scared him.
It's giving thin line between love and hate.
I think the fact that it was premeditated made it a little bit worse. Right. It wasn't like you were just heated and mad and, you know, this is what you decide to do. She's like, I'm Googling to make sure I can't do no time for this. And yeah, this is what we're going to do.
They're really shocked. And she seems very proud about this. Yeah, she's wearing that badge proudly.
You saw it last episode. She told her to tell him.
Yeah. Right. So Troy, you know, is like, that scares the hell out of him. And she tells Linda she would never do that to him, though, because he's not a liar and he's a good person. Whew, Jesus. Now, Troy asks her, so if relationships get hard, basically you give up. And Morgan says that she knows relationships take work and she's not the one to run away at the sight of obstacles. However, if she sees red flags, that person is not worth her giving her all. And so Morgan thinks, you know, Troy is trying to basically see if she's crazy for real. And she says, no, she's not crazy.
I think you're crazy for letting that story out.
The jury is still out on that. Now, well, look, you just haven't done anything to get you locked up yet to be confirmed crazy. So, you know, she says she's a good woman, and Troy says, but for Lyndon. So, and Morgan says, time will tell. So then, you know, Troy says for him, the whole grand exit is a red flag and it's the size of a damn football field. So Lyndon thinks that he needs to go back and reevaluate. And now he's so confused.
You're an idiot. Moving on to Blake.
Blake, you thought about me with this?
Yes. only because
I don't know how to take that.
Not because of Blake. But I was thinking, like, how would you react to you dating a man or trying to date a man, and the person he introduces you to as his best friend is like a beautiful woman? It's not even like in like a chill environment where like, hey, this is my friend, and that.
Yeah, like, no. You ain't had no homeboys or nothing.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, this is your best friend that knows you the most, and this is who you're looking to for advice and trying to, see what works for me. And it's this person, not a homeboy.
You already know that would work for me.
That's why I thought about you. It's giving Morgan territorial.
It wouldn't work for me. I mean, we could laugh, ha, kiki, but yeah, I got to meet you in a cooler setting first. We're just not.
Yeah. So Blake invited his friend LaShawn to give him her raw, honest opinions on Suan.
Actually, you know what? I take that back. I shouldn't say that, because I think Miriam was pretty, but she's married, kids, like the dynamic is different. So I would have felt more comfortable.
I don't know if LaShawn is, but I know Miriam made a point to say it.
Right. So that would have made me more comfortable.
And honest, and you know what? It's funny. It's crazy that you brought that up, because literally as soon as she said it, it was like, okay.
Right. Right.
Like, all right. But LaShawn didn't say that. So
right.
I don't know. Which makes me feel like she doesn't care about making me feel comfortable.
Right.
So basically LaShawn asked her, where does she see herself in 5 years? Suan clearly has her 5-year plan. It's to be married. LaShawn says that Blake is a noble character and he's the type to always have your back. So how do you feel that you always have his back, or how would you have his back? And Suan says every time she meets with the ladies in the ladies lounge,
she said, I already have.
She said basically she too. You didn't know? Okay.
I am safety Sue. I've been saving. Okay.
Don't save him. Well, he do want to be saved. She says that Blake is always in the bottom, and she's been able to focus on their journey and not let the outside influence affect it. She ain't say she always saving his ass, but that's really what she wanted to say. Okay. Now, LaShawn asked her how long she's been divorced, and she said she's been divorced for 2 years. And this is her first real intentional last person dating experience. Apparently she's dating for marriage. I guess that was what she was trying to get across. And Blake,
you couldn't just say that.
I think girl, listen. And Blake is feeling like it was a great idea to bring LaShawn, because she's asking questions that he didn't even think of and bringing up issues that he completely ignored. So she asked, how do you see your future with Blake, with him having 3 sons? She says, with respect to blending families, it's something that she's never done before, but she thinks that he'd be a decent girl dad. The fact she said decent, sir, ma'am, like what's I don't want a decent girl dad. Then LaShawn tells him she thinks it's worth a shot. Just take your time and learn
around
her
the edges as he is,
and see where it ends up. You said what?
As rough around the edges as he is, and as honest and direct as he is, I wouldn't want him talking to my daughters.
First of all, the fact that you know that he wouldn't make an amazing girl dad should have been why you don't want to date him. So then Tony invited his friend Antron, who he's known for over 25 years, to meet with Morgan and Marcy. And then the ladies show up. Morgan is not so happy to see Marcy is there. She says she's territorial, like somebody else I know.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically the ladies say that they don't have children. And he says, we ain't 25 anymore. And, with you not having children, it's kind of like a reset for Tony. And Marcy says that she wants children, but she wants children with someone she knows has her back and, is a great father and a nurturer to her as a woman going through that process.
Right.
Morgan says she didn't birth any children, but she's showing to raise some.
Okay.
She raised a couple men's kids. Okay. She calls herself Mom T. Okay. And she just, wants to have kids with the right person. Antron asked them about their 5-year plan. Marcy says she wants to be married. And Morgan says that that's her 2-year plan. Wife me, please.
Okay. And
And
he's like, well, how do you plan to get there?
she said she plans to execute it with prayer, patience, and someone who understands her path. Basically, while she's letting you know, this is my 2-year plan. So if you ain't with it, get gone. Okay. And Antron asked her if she feels that Tony is on a similar path. I don't know. I felt like he was asking some good questions.
Yeah, I do too.
She says that he's a man's man, which, she loves that. Okay. But it's to a fault. And she says that, she's a strong-minded woman, and sometimes, he likes her mouth, and sometimes he doesn't. I was like, Margaret, you can't be saying it like that on TV, girl. Don't be
right.
All right. And wants to know how she can get him to soften up. Antron tells her that comes with time, and if she continues to be patient and go through the process, he believes that she'll see that side of him. Antron says that he is thoroughly impressed. Okay. Marcia has some really good answers, and he loves that Morgan is so direct. But then, he tells him, listen, look, Tony is like, sorry, you're not making this no easier. I mean, he's like, okay, well, it's your decision to make. It's your decision to make. I'm just helping you.
So Anthony invites his best friend Miriam, we mentioned her earlier, over to meet 3 of the ladies. Now, what I thought was super cute, as I mentioned to Nels, is that he invited Cynthia over first and then planned a separate lunch date for her to meet Mercedes and Suanne. Now, Miriam asked Cynthia about her kids and the relationship with her child's father. So maybe he might have shared a little bit of tea about what happened on the previous week. Now, Cynthia says she hasn't been with James since 2014. She met this man. She's known this man since she was 12 years old. And, she knows how to put her foot down with him. So that will never be an issue for Anthony. And Miriam asked her if she's okay to submitting to her man. And Cynthia reiterates, because we've heard her say
this. We know how she feel about that.
Right. And she's like, I have no issues being submissive. I've had to be strong for too long. I'm tired of y'all asking me the same question and me telling y'all every episode, I don't want to do this no more. Okay. That's why I'm on this show. So, and Anthony loves her responses and just feels like Cynthia really knows what she wants. Now, Mercedes said that she's walking in excited and plans on being transparent. And so Miriam starts with her and asks her if, she has kids. And, she's like, I'm not sure what God has in store for me, but, I do want to be a parent, whether it's adopting, being a step parent, or even a dog mom. And I said, well, I like that answer. It's very positive. So Suanne arrives and is anxious to see who his connections are. Because
I said who her competition is. She like, because he ain't never tell me.
Right.
When you saw Blake's ass, you don't even give a damn.
So she sits down and starts talking to Miriam about every time she talks to Anthony and asks him if he likes her, it's a lack of response. So Miriam's like, oh, that's just who he is. He still ain't told me. So, I mean, you shouldn't feel no type of way. So Anthony is surprised that she's still bringing it up and thought that he had resolved this with the one-on-one that he had.
And he felt like he was doing better after that.
Right. So Suanne says she feels stupid making him her second connection, and he hasn't even said he likes her yet. I said, okay. So then Anthony finally, and off no shit, this would have irritated me. If I would have went as far to be like, you ain't even told me you like me yet, only for you to turn around and be like, Latrice, I like you. I like you. Is that what you want to hear?
Basically, I felt
it was definitely forced, is what I'm saying.
But so I understand, like me, I do like to hear it. But for me, if you're showing me, I don't necessarily need to hear it. So he probably felt like he's showing her. So it's like, okay, if I'm showing you and it's still not getting through, then okay, here we go. Guess what? I like you.
Right. And that would, for me, would have been like, oh, I don't even want that. No, thank you. I'm sorry. I didn't want that. So Suanne says she doesn't want to be anyone's emotional coach. We learned Suanne has 2 girls. Why we're just learning this, and this is episode 9, is mind-boggling to me, but okay. And Miriam asked Mercedes what role Anthony's daughter would play in her life since she doesn't have any kids. So Mercedes says that, she's she's honest, and that's a bit of apprehension for her when dealing with Anthony, because he comes with a lot, and she has to make sure that she's basically in a place that she can take on that role. And Mercedes says her opinion hasn't changed. However, it has made it clearer what Anthony may need from his partner. And she doesn't know if she fits that bill. And Miriam actually brings that to Anthony's attention and says that she's very honest with you, but if she can't step up, that might make you angry. And she tells him that basically, I don't even think she wasted real time with Sue-Ann. She was like, Sue-Ann basically feel like you ain't giving her nothing. And Cynthia basically is the best candidate for what he has going on, because what she needs from him and what he needs from her is more aligned. I said, go ahead, Miriam. Right. I'm here for the
it's crazy. They're both friend and ex favorites. He was the favorite from last episode. She's the favorite from this episode. And yeah, they're like this. So the guys meet in the gentleman's lounge for deliberation. Tommy wants to tea on how everything went with the friends. Okay. Andre said his friend met with Cynthia and Jeffrey, and his friend is gravitating more to Cynthia because she said that she can protect his emotions. But he says that he doesn't believe everything that she's saying. Tommy, like, you don't know what the hell you want. Just okay.
Right. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you.
M.A. said his friend Mark met with Mercedes and Jeffrey. Mercedes stuck out to his friend because that's normally like more his style. Blake says that he introduced Sue-Ann to his friend LaShawn, and she had a concern about her being married and divorced, and basically this being her real first relationship after that. And the reason why the friend was concerned is because she has battle injuries. But he says
she basically thinks she might be a bag lady.
But he says that he's definitely willing to still move forward because everybody has scars. Everybody's been through something that's taking something from them.
Everybody dragging around bags like that. I guess nobody ever told you. All you must hold on to is you.
Because you're an idiot. I'm
sorry.
Lyndon says that his friend Troy met Morgan and says that he told him about Nairgate, and says his friend felt like that was a football-sized field
red flag.
Tony says that he brought his friend Antron to meet Morgan and Marcy, and that Marcy really stood out to his friend, and he knows that Marcy is his normal type of person that he would go for, but Morgan and him just have a really deep connection. Anthony says that he brought Miriam to meet Cynthia, Sue-Ann, and Mercedes. He says Cynthia was super intentional, which is super attractive to him. Mercedes was her normal bubbly self, and
Sue-Ann was there to prove a point and take notes,
basically. And basically, he feels that she feels that he wasn't telling her what she needed to hear as far as where she stands with him, and says that he doesn't really want to explain, right up front, because he doesn't want there to be no back and forth, kind of like there was with Blake and Jeffrey.
He don't want to be in no mess. That's basically
he don't want to do the Blake and Jeffrey shit.
Right.
Okay. And he says that he's not worried about losing his connection with her, because if he loses it, it means it wasn't real anyway.
And not even that, but I love how he said he feels like she just wants to hear it so she can basically go share it. Meaning he feel like you run your mouth too much.
Blake and Jeffrey.
Just saying.
The ladies that they are feeling that they're not ready to love. Tony says Jeffrey, they're just friendly. Blake says Cynthia, she doesn't align with him. Andre says Mercedes, which is a recent disconnection, as well as Sue-Ann. She's never opened up to him. Lyndon agrees with Sue-Ann, and Anthony says Marcia, as well as Mark Anthony. So Nephew Tommy tells the guys before he releases them that he has a surprise for them. Basically, they'll be packing their bags and meeting at a location that he's going to provide for them later for a weekend getaway. Then Anthony met up with Sue-Ann. She says she's nervous because she knows the guys met in the gentleman's lounge. He asked Sue-Ann if she feels that she's been open, and she says that she feels that she's been guarded, but it's because he's been guarded as well. He let her know that after having deliberation, she's in the bottom, and let her know that some of the guys feel that
like he took pleasure in telling her that.
I think so too, because she took pleasure in bringing him out in front of his friend. And he also let her know that the guys feel that she hasn't given them a chance to form a connection with her. And he says that he feels like he's been pulling like a lot out of her, and it's just one-sided, and he's the one that initiates everything, and it should be reciprocated if you're interested in someone,
especially if you out here talking about you ain't said you like me.
I mean, you ain't said it either. The hell. So Mark Anthony met up with Marcia. Now she says she's nervous because she knows that they don't have a romantic connection, and Blue is gone, and her only connection now is Tony. Mark Anthony let her know that after speaking with the guys, her name came up, and now she's in the bottom as well. He tells her, that she's friendly, which is a great trait, but then you run the risk of being friend zoned. And she says, she values friendship, so she wants to be cool. She wants to be cool with her dude. And he basically says that that's a catch-22, because the same thing that's hurting you is what's great about you. And ultimately the guys decided that Marcia is not ready to love, and she left super gracefully.
She took it. She said, I learned a lot while I was here. You have all been amazing individuals. And she realizes that maybe she needs to be a little bit more romantic in her intentions versus coming off friendly. But I personally like her exit. I was proud of it. I didn't think, she didn't have to be nasty or distasteful. So shout out.
We've seen people on here be nasty.
Right. So shout out to Marcia for that. And I think she just clearly knew. And like she said, love is out there for her. It just wasn't there. So kudos. That was the show, y'all. And we got to go get ready. So we got a long night ahead of us. But if you have not already, Shade Squad, please make sure that you have hit that like button.
You comment.
You subscribe.
And you hit the notification bell.
And y'all, please make sure that you're following us on all of the platforms, the Facebook, Twitter, IG, what is the other one?
TikTok.
And y'all, and we will catch you, and I'm sure you'll see some of our festivities this evening. And we will catch y'all next week for another review of Ready to Love, the Weekend Getaway. Y'all know that's when it goes down.
Yes, it does.
But all right, y'all. Love y'all. Have a good one.